Turtles, as they say. Day 3 of my favorite clinic, the EBCA. So we're going to start this morning off with a very subject very near to my heart, very near and dear to my heart. Everyday throwing. You can't play baseball if you can't throw and you can't catch. So let's talk about throwing this morning with two of the best. Martin Brunner, Bill Holmberg. Oh, you're fantastic.
Good morning. Nice crowd for 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to talk about the throwing program. We're going to talk about it for pitching, but in the end it counts for every position because you make more throws in your throwing program than you will do on the mound. And because of this, if you want to prepare to be effective on the mound, your everyday throwing program needs to match up with what the game asks from you on the mound. And so there's a throwing program and there's routines and there's all kinds of stuff for a pitcher during the week, or in a 5-day cycle, on a 7-day cycle, whatever it is. But whatever you do that day, it could be a bullpen, it could be a long toss, whatever you do that day, there still is a minimum throwing program. And that particular throwing program, the everyday throwing program, this is where it's the best opportunities, like Tom McConnell said, everything counts. And so that part is the best opportunity to create a feel for the ball and pitching mechanics that work on the mound. So you're trying to implement all the things, the mechanical part, that you need on the mound where you can't think about mechanics. You try to use the everyday throwing program. And before we get into it, so it's so if you think of a structure in the pitching development, I threw the day before 80 pitches or whatever it is. The next day, usually I would do at least the minimum throwing, and that's the throwing program that we're going to present. If I have a bullpen, I do the throwing program and add on to my long toss or whatever my routine is. And we decided to present 7 drills today, and we really believe that those 7 drills is for us the best possible preparation for the mechanical side actually that you need in a delivery. And so it's a build-up. Yeah, we can go right into it.
Let me say a couple things. First thing is within this throwing program, it can be used for infielders. As I said yesterday, it can be used for outfielders and catchers. Now, the only people that, more than pitchers get value out of this program. This program is important for, I do at our academy, the Italian Academy, have a program now for all our players, position players, and the pitchers. What we're trying to do is we're trying to create good arm action. We're trying to create proper mechanics for throwing, okay? Marty talks about the pitching aspect of it, but I think there's a good piece of this within this program which is valuable for also all positions with different arm action. But the key is while they're doing this program, they need to make sure they use proper arm angles and not have an infielder doing this or an outfielder doing that, or a catcher doing this. Okay? To make sure that the arm is nice and short. If it's catcher infielder, the outfielders can be long like the pitcher. But there's a lot of fundamentals within this program that are valuable for all positions.
And as a general remark, when we think about throwing, we try to be as much as we can a wheel instead of a frisbee. Okay, you see all kinds of stuff and everything happens, and we see guys' body parts flying all over the place, and it's more referring to a frisbee. If you think about a pitching motion, go forward. It's much more like a wheel. And I think that's a general thing that is a good filter if you watch your players in what they're doing. Here on the first drill, if you think of a pitching motion, we're already kind of in this area. Okay, we just made it a little bit easier, and that's why we start just like this. Okay? But it resembles, in the end, close to release. Everything is already forward. And the hips are already squared to home plate. And just let it run here. You want to go through the
Yeah, if you look at this, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create two things, basically. We're trying to create a good arm swing. Okay, that's number one. We always want a good arm swing. We believe that forearm swings, forearm action, is one of the major reasons for arm injury, for either elbow or shoulder. Okay, so misuse of the arm is what gives us injury. So we're repeating the proper arm action. We're going straight back, not going behind our acromial line, which is behind our shoulder line. Okay, we're not leading with our elbow. Okay, that's going to be a nice swing out. And the second part of this is, as you can see, he's rotating his shoulders and his hips a little bit into the throw. As we get into our program, you'll see that we try to start making it more similar to a pitching motion. But this basically is for arm action and hips and following the ball through, keeping our glove side tight, all the things that we want, glove side tight, all the things that we want when somebody throws a baseball.
Another guy. I mean, if you want in any of those drills, you can dig a lot of layers deeper. Okay. For example, to give you one example, when on the pitching motion, when the front foot lands, we try on the backside not to be higher with the ball than our eyes. Okay. You see a lot of guys trying to do this. There's not a lot of power. It's really difficult to get the body behind the ball in this. And there's many details in these drills. If you want to dig a couple layers deeper, and that's a pretty good drill because it's still slow. You know what you're doing. You can check yourself, so you look a lot more like a tennis player to get the body behind it. And the cue is that the ball is not higher than your eyes. And little stuff like this is is a lot easier to implement in those kind of drills than with the guy on the mound at the end.
You can see one other thing is where he finishes with his arm. Okay, we want him to finish with their arm here, okay, down here, so they're not side to side, they're not throwing frisbees like Marty was talking about. Okay, so we get nice clean arm action finish here, not finish to the left and the left side. Okay. Okay, this right here is we call it the lift in the heel. Okay, it's more or less a kick. It's more to engage the backside in our throw, so that we start to get that feeling of being over our front side, and finishing like this. Okay, we believe that the front side is going to pull the backside through. You know, it's a push for the backside. The front side is going to push the backside through. So when we finish with our knee, that is going to be basically our movement with our hips going forward, so that we are simulating our finish, which is like we would on the mound. Okay, great for balance, maintaining the same arm swing. The arm swing has to be good. You'll see the guys finishing once in a while. They'll finish to their left side on this drill. We want them to continue to try to finish on their left leg. Okay, but they're doing a pretty good job of it. And again, what it is it's just working on arm action. Most of your guys, I would guarantee 80%, 90% of your guys do not have good arm action. And that's going to cause you to have problems with your shoulder and elbow, and not be accurate, and not reach maximum potential velocity. All right, so there's a lot of different things within this program that's going to help your guys throw better.
Maybe if you over-exaggerate, if you don't do this, you know, a pitching motion or a throwing motion, a lot of times when you stop here, you really start becoming rotational, or the frisbee. Okay, because you're following your ball, you're not staying here. If you stay here, you know, you have the tendency to bend off to this side. But because on my finish, I allow myself to go forward. I'm really putting emphasis on going right down the shoe towards whole plate or towards my target. Your player's gonna do it like, okay, I do it because coach said I'm gonna do it. But within a couple throws, they're gonna build a really nice rhythm to it, and it becomes really natural that you follow through. Step is going into the direction you want to throw, creating a little bit more extension in this direction.
And a point of interest is, we don't like guys to roll their heel over like this. I know a lot of guys taught this. I taught it at the beginning. Okay, this rolling over your heel disengages the glute. Okay, we don't want that. We want to be able to use our glute to push our back hip through. So we're actually doing that instead of rotating our hip over or our foot over and coming out like this. We're just trying to lift it up off the rubber like we would more on the mount. Okay, this is extremely important. Because the way that the body works, we have to start from the feet down, obviously. But we're going to have all these pieces of the kinetic chain up all the way to the ball, okay? And if we're doing something wrong, it's going to inhibit our maximum potential of being able to throw the ball, okay? Okay. This is called wrong foot throws, okay? There's a couple reasons why we do this. He's not doing it completely right, because there should be a stop, okay? If I'm doing the wrong foot throws, I'm gonna have my hands together, and this is the progression. Hands together in front of my body. I'm gonna take a short step with my right, step with my left. That's when I come out with the ball, okay? Ball leaves my glove, okay? So when I leave my glove touching with my left foot, I lift up, set my arm like I would if I were throwing on the mound, set my arm like I would if I'm going to throw in any way with a nice arm swing, okay, and apply force to the ball. When I finish, I'm going to finish like I would when I'm pitching in the mound. So this is going to simulate. What it does, it takes the right side out. A lot of times kids have, or the left side out. A lot of times kids have problems with the glove side. They want to yank that glove side and open their front shoulder. Okay, this takes that out. This teaches these guys to apply force in straight lines, and they apply force all the way to when they finish with the foot strike with the right foot. This has been extremely valuable for me personally, using it with kids that have problems with arm action. Okay, guys that go way behind their acromial line, guys that lead with their elbow. Through these drills right here, we're able to straighten out their arm action pretty well. Now, it doesn't have to be a huge pendulum swing. It could be shorter. It's up to the individual. It doesn't matter to me how short. It matters if he gets to a proper position with his elbow, about eye height with the hand, okay? And then he applies force to the ball going forward, all right? To me, it's very important to finish with the right foot, because the right foot is the way I'm going to finish like this on the mound. I'm going to finish like this here, and I'm going to get used to using that back hip on my right side to throw the ball. I'm going to throw along my acromial line, along my shoulder line, okay? I'm going to make it very simple, and I'm going to be able to apply force. And last of all, we use overload balls with this drill. Why with this drill and not with regular throws? Because this is very, very, there's a minimum risk of injury here. Okay, and I use heavy balls. Why overload balls? Why? Because I want them to feel that force and be able to apply force all the way to release. So with a heavier ball, they can do that, and it doesn't have any problem. They don't have any problem with their shoulder or elbow, because they don't have this flying out and exposing their shoulder and elbow. Okay.
And for a heavier ball?
We start with the drive line stuff.
So
The drive line, yeah, the drive line sequence. That's what we use. All right, and we start from a short distance, and we actually the first week, 2 weeks, we'll start on low intensity stuff. Okay, be low intensity. We'll build up, and we'll get to like after about the third week, we're going to be throwing as hard as we can. All right, but we want that timing to be. Our timing is going to be here. Boom. Now I'm going to throw. And you can hear the whip of my hand, because that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to use my hand, that pronation snap, to be able to throw the ball. All right, and it seems to be very valuable in arm care, and also you get some ticks up in velo.
If you teach it to kids that haven't done it before, and it kind of screws them up because it's really, literally the wrong foot, a comment that might help you for him to figure out: you have to land before you throw. okay? Because they're still there and doing it, and then they can't figure out the fit. So common for your kids to land before you throw. It's going to help them out usually to figure the drill out.
Excellent.
And again, it's a drill, you can dig a lot of layers deeper. If you think about it, throw like this, there's a strong shoulder-hip separation. It's really good for that coordination. You know, you're going to build a lot of kinesthetic awareness of how that plays together. It gives you a lot of good feedback. The goal always for us is to get to the front. With this foot forward, to get here is pretty simple. So you already learned how to get to the front, and basically once you know how to get to the front, with this foot forward to get there again instead of spinning out, it becomes a lot easier. And again, there's a lot of little things in this drill, just doing the drills where the players kind of adapts to it, learns it by himself without really addressing it. But if you want, you can really dig deep on those kind of drills as well. What do you think, Bill?
Step behinds. Okay, these are basically we are trying to establish that same flat foot that we saw yesterday in the hitting. We saw also in maintaining the load. We saw also with Steve Jansen's presentation. Okay, we're stepping behind. Okay, so I'll start in this position right here. Okay, we go 1, 2 behind. Now the key is being flat with the back foot when you're going behind. So I'm creating a straight drive line here. And it's going to be very similar to my position. If you look, I'll just change my foot. It's going to be the same position I'm going to be in when I'm sitting before I'm going to drive and throw. Okay? So I'm going to go from right here, throw, finish. Now again, for me, for the deceleration phase, the more I use the backside, the easier it is for me to decelerate. Simple as that. If I use my whole backside, I'm not using the smaller muscles of my back to slow my arm down. I'm using my whole backside. Besides the fact that I'm also creating power with my legs. So this drill is tremendous. And these kids, the way they raise their leg, is very similar to a throwing motion. Now you can finish, as you can see with, who is that, Rimmel? So you can see that he finishes his leg, like we were talking, Steve was talking about yesterday, finishes his leg here. Okay, touching a little bit on what Steve said yesterday. If you're working with young pitchers, all right, we can't watch big league pitchers and try to emulate them, all right? There are some processes and steps you have to take to be able to teach young pitchers. And you have to make it as simple as possible. And if you do, you know, start with them being way out here, being out there like Jansen is and all those guys, that's not going to help them. They have to be as close to their body as they possibly can. But they have to finish their front knee. They have to finish their front leg. And when I say finish their front leg, I mean this. So that means they're over the backside, just like the hitter. Marty talked about the hitter yesterday. And then we're going to keep this, and we're going to hold this all the way till foot strike. So it's the same principles, more or less, in hitting about the load and about maintaining the load till you get to foot strike. Because obviously, when we get to foot strike with our front side, we don't want to start having our front side already 10%, 15% open. We want to be able to create that separation, like Marty said, which is fundamental. All right? But it has to be done properly. None of these drills can be done without you watching your players. Okay, you have to keep an eye on your guys. They're not going to do it right every time. Stay on them. You can be over there talking to somebody about the practice schedule or whatever, but just keep an eye on your guys. And once in a while, yell out at them, hey, you know, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Because it's really important to watch your players while they're warming up.
With the wrong foot throws, you probably already at base distance. And when you do this drill, you know, the throwing program, it's not, pitching and throwing is not just about mechanics. The much more important is to create a feel for the baseball. And later on, we're going to ask him to hit locations and manipulate the ball. And sometimes as a pitcher, you grab the ball out of the box and it doesn't feel right, you take a different one. Because the feel for the ball is really crucial. And the second part is you want to build up the good coordination. Try it. We know how the body works best. You know, there's the whole motor learning principles and all these things. And if you think about it, the body operates task specific. You give them a task and the body's pretty good at figuring out how to do the task. Throwing as hard as you can is a terrible task. The body does not understand what is this as hard as you can. As far as you can is already a better task than as hard as you can, because it actually is something the body knows better how to achieve. In these drills in the everyday throwing program, if you go as hard as you can, you lose everything. Because if you get too strong, strength like this kills the coordination. But you want to get a feel. If you think about this, the big league pitchers that throw hard and stay there a long time, everything is unbelievable effortless. It's slow, boom, something happens and it goes slow further. The ball just jumps out of their hand. And that kind of coordination is built in the throwing program because you're not trying to throw as hard as you can. The goal is, with the distance, to get the ball as easy as possible to your partner. So this drill right here is more like, and let the ball come out of your hand. And because you do it effortless, you allow the body to link himself up. And all of a sudden you might have a little sore arm that day and you don't feel so good, but the body readjusts, recalibrates itself. And all of a sudden, even so you don't feel that good, but the ball is coming out of your hand. Because you allow the body to learn the coordination and build it back together. And that's why the goal is, you can have a little air even underneath the ball. And that's why you develop the feel for the ball. If you go no brain, no pain as hard as you can, you're never going to develop a feel for the ball. You see it a lot also in the pro ball level on the field, pitchers fielding practice. Everybody's doing this now because they don't have that feel anymore for the ball that they just can go like this and hit the target, if you think about it. And for me, that's a really, really super crucial thing to develop the feel for the baseball so you can later on manipulate the ball. And it's built in these drills as well by just going in a nice pace and see how easy can you get the ball to your partner.
You know, another thing, the first 3 drills we showed you here, those are good for position players. And then this drill obviously is really specific to pitchers. But you can make some drills that are specific also to infielders and to outfielders and to catchers. All you do is you just change footwork, okay? So you might want to take a shortstop and infielder, he's going to do this, and you can do this. Okay, same thing. You might be able to do the same thing for step number 4 instead of step behind. You might be having catchers do this. Okay, or it could be an outfielder that you want to have him catch the ball and then. Okay, that's the 4th phase for the individual positions. We're basing a lot of this on what we do with our pitchers, but this is easily transferable to the position players too. You guys got to have a little bit of fantasy, you know. Got to think about maybe some new ways to do it, but as Marty said, there's a lot of different layers of this thing. You guys can change them up a little bit, and it will be as effective as what we're doing now.
I want to point out one more thing because it's so important to me, and Bill already addressed it, is you have to finish your leg before you move forward. That little detail, I mean, we're not really talking pitching mechanics, throwing program, but it's so vital to me, it's so important. You know, everybody wants to drive off the rubber. But what's the difference between a push and a drive? A push always is when your leg is not finished, for example, and you become an upper body heavy. That's when you push. Pushing is almost like jumping, and it's always upper body heavy. And that's why we see when guys do a lot of crow-ups and throw as hard as they can into nets and all these programs, their velocity is going to pick up, but they only learn to use more momentum in their throwing. And then we're back on the mound, and we haven't worked on finishing the leg because we're still in the pro-up up here, being upper body dominant, and then they go back on the mound and nothing comes out of their hand. And finishing the leg is the biggest difference to create See, if I'm up here and now I start here drive, I'm always going to be top heavy. And I will not be able to engage my legs into my pitching motion. And you have it here too. You get very good feedback because you already have momentum. If I don't finish the leg, I have nothing on the ball. So this momentum kind of forces me to learn to finish the leg. And now because my leg is finished, I can drive and it starts in the center of my body and I'm actually using the legs and I don't get top heavy and be able to use my legs and my momentum into the throw. So this finishing the leg is really a crucial thing and you get a lot of good feedback if you do it good in this drill.
Yeah, and there's a correlation between the three-step, the wrong foot throw. There's a direct correlation between both of these, drill number 3 and drill number 4. Because you see, before he goes forward with his left leg, he's coming out with the ball. So he's going to be on time with that ball every time. So if he starts to leak out like Marty says and doesn't completely finish his leg, because as soon as you finish your leg, that's when you want the ball to come out. Okay, so you finish your leg, boom, and the ball's out. So if you're a little bit late, if you don't finish your leg, afterwards you have no time with your hands. So there's a correlation between that second step, right, left, and the ball coming out, and what we're doing here with the step backs. Okay, loading here and then going forward. All right.
For the next 3 drills, we're already with the partner, and the partner is kneeing down, so we're creating a down angle target as we go in the next 3 drills. On this drill, so we're throwing down angle, the key is you must keep your foot on the ground. That's why the stride is not very long. You kind of set up like on the tee, you know, on the line here. That's why we call it small tee, because you feel not that far apart. The goal is to stay here on the inside, and because you leave your foot on the ground, your body's going to get a lot of feedback. You're trying to work to the front again, and if you don't work to the front, if you're too much of a frisbee, you're going to feel it, and you're not, you're going to see it, and over rotation here, and maybe on the outside of the front side, there's a lot of feeling, oh, I'm really spinning out because of that foot staying on the ground. If you stay on the inside, you keep it on the ground, you get a good feeling how to work to the front.
Hey Marty, can I just interrupt for just a second? That's the same drill that I was talking about. I called it a torque drill yesterday when I was doing the pictures. But that's what it looks like, and I didn't have a video of the picture. That's a good drill, great drill.
And if the player understands what's happening here, I should stay more or less on the inside of the foot. And if you watch, you don't want the player to control this, okay? You don't want him to beat the drill and cheat the drill. But for you as a coach, you can watch there, the back foot. If the shoelaces are facing down, he probably worked pretty good to the front. If you see this, then he's probably too much still a frisbee and not getting the full out of his body.
Yeah, I'd like him, me personally, to be a little bit stronger on his front side. Is, like we talked about yesterday, squeezing that groin area a little bit more. But everything else is good. We got 2 more drills, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask a question.
It's the same drill. It's like the same thing we did already in the throwing program. We're standing a little bit further apart now in this drill. It's quite far apart. It's not as far as it goes because we don't have that momentum. But this time we learned how to work to the front, and now we allow to follow the ball, to pick that foot up, but we want to make sure we create the direction toward home plate and not be the frisbee. In this way, in our follow through, we kick the knee up, so we continue forward, and at the same time it helps extension of the hip to get a little bit more out of our hips, but in a good direction. And once you start getting familiar with these drills, there's a lot of feedback you get for your mechanics, for your throwing, right out of the drill. So you don't really have to teach much or say much, because there's good body feedback for the player, and you're establishing some pretty good mechanics this way. You go ahead.
Okay, this double leg kick, we're going to make sure that they finish their leg. So we're going to have them bring it up, down, and they're going to go up and then forward. Up and down, so double piston, okay, double piston, up and down, and then forward. Make sure they stay over their backside. Trying to make sure we get that nice load in the backside and maintain that load all the way to the release point. This kid's doing a really nice job of this. You know, you can see his balance. He's got really good balance.
One thing I want to point out on the double leg kick, he's already taken the ball out of the glove. That's really crucial also to be able to drive later, because a lot of times if I keep my hands together and go forward, okay, I'm becoming top heavy and my drive becomes a push. Okay, so in this double leg kick drill, to separate the hands already, and you know, in the end the hand's going to stay there, so I can start with my midsection going forward to create a little bit more drive, because that part right here is what I don't have on the mount, momentum. In the outfield I can take as much momentum as I want. If I'm not finishing the leg, if my hands still together, I'm going to take everything with me and I'm going to turn into a push and be very much a frisbee instead of starting with the midsection and being able to drive with the leg. And so we do the double leg kick to make sure we're in a good position before we initiate, get momentum moving forward and setting ourselves up for a drive of the rubber. There's a reason in baseball why it's a rubber and not just a chalk line, okay? Because we want to really use that rubber to create momentum going forward. It's the only position on the field where we have to start throwing from a still stand, and we need to make up for it. And that's engaging the legs and creating momentum forward, but it has to start at the right time, and the double leg kick drill is really helping us to making sure we're in that position and not anything early up here or hands still together where we change from a drive into a push.
We're trying to create that crow hop through these exercises. If you notice that the load and everything else, we're not able to take that extra step like we would if we were an outfielder or a catcher or an infielder. But we're trying to create that crow hop movement by loading and getting ourselves going in the right direction. Okay? See, everything we've done here has been, if you put a hallway right here, we'd be walking down that hallway and we wouldn't be right or left of it. And that's how we have to think. We have a hallway here, and I tell my players this all the time. You have a hallway, you just got to throw down the hallway. Okay? And at the end of that hallway, you're going to have your target. So if you stay within that hallway, you're going to be fine. You start going right to left in that hallway, you're going to be hitting your hands on the walls, whether it be the glove side or the arm side. So we're trying to create that crow hop movement, okay, through all our throwing mechanics. That's the last one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have a couple questions. Let's have a little discussion here. I think I've done this every year, and I know Marty's got some questions too. What's the number one problem that you guys see in your young pitchers? Number one problem. Yeah.
Flying open.
Flying open the front side. What would you do to, well, we talked about this yesterday, you already have the answer, but what would you do to correct that?
I'll give him a 2 kilo weight or a weighted ball, put it in his glove, so he needs to stay there, and tuck it instead of
Flying it out, so they can at least feel it. And Marty talks a lot about being aware of your body, which is that helps you to be very aware of your body. There's a lot of things you can do, but the key is that glove side is going to be fundamental when you rotate. So if you have that glove side tucked right here, all the big leaguers, this one time I'm going to use an example of big leaguers. Big leaguers are all right here at release, their whole side. And then they might fly off afterwards, but at release, they're all right there. So the key is, that's the biggest problem that I found too, besides going behind the acromial line. But that fix is pretty easy. What I'm trying to get at here is, you guys have to watch your pitchers, and you have to decide where their flaws are. and you have to try to create, okay? Create some kind of drills that are going to be able to help you correct that. We talk a lot about internal and external focus, okay? Internal focus is
when you use this between your ears, trying to control your body. Where's my elbow? What I do need to do with my knees? Where's my front side? Okay, that when the attention is focused inside of your body or at body parts, that's internal focus.
external focus is I will give Giovanni a drill, okay, and I'm going to say, okay, this is your drill. I put a cone here with a stick on it because Giovanni's got a problem going by, goes way behind his cranial line. So I get a cone, put a broomstick in it, get him on the rubber like this, have him throw low intensity to a catcher or his partner, his pitching partner. He goes through his motion and make sure he doesn't hit the stick. I don't say a word to him during that time. He just goes out over there and figures it out himself. We did a study last year with the Dutch on this specific thing. 4 countries, okay? And we found through this study that there was a huge difference between, and I sort of knew this, but I didn't know why, but that's what the conclusions I came to, that me standing next to a kid that's throwing a bullpen and telling him, hey, Marty, keep your head down, keep your hands together, but raise your hands a little bit, was detrimental to the kid getting better. It was better for me, which is internal focus, better for me to set up a drill for the kid and let him work it out by himself. Because he will, the body will adapt. A lot of repetitions. I've taken a lot of bad arm actions in Italy and sort of straightened those guys out. And that's been, that's not been easy. But the key is recognizing the flaws in your pitchers and being able to create a drill that's externally going to allow him to get better.
I want to add to this because it's really absolutely crucial. If you try to use your consciousness to control your body, you're using a system that's totally distorted, it's totally inaccurate, and you're 200 to 300 milliseconds late. So if you're trying to control your body with your brain, it's a very inaccurate system and you're late because coordination happens locally. Here's an example. You all can repeat your signature really well. Okay, that's why it's your signature. If I give you a big Sharpie here on the wall, you can do your signature in large letters as well. You've probably never done it in your life before, but your first execution is already very close to your signature. And that's how the body works. Because you gave the body a task. And you will be amazed how good the body is in finding and organizing that task. If I have to tell you, well, to do the signature on the wall, now you have to use your legs and your shoulders and your arms, you have no chance getting your signature done. And it's the same thing in general in skill acquisition. If I tell you internally, what do you need to do to get it done, that's going to be very, very difficult for the player. But if you build an environment where he knows, where he gets the feedback himself, either because he can feel it or because he can understand the result that's happening. And if you try to give him tasks to fulfill, and you have a good feedback system to it, where the player always knows, have I done it right or wrong, the learning principles are so much quicker than trying to turn them all internal and use a system that's, especially in baseball where movement is pretty quick, it's really, really difficult for the player to execute.
A trick to finish the leg. I get one of those Italian, they call them chinezini, one of those little cones, the small ones. They call them chinezini, it means a hat for a Chinese guy, but it's irrelevant. So I put it down in front of it, next to his left foot, and I tell him, okay, touch the top of the cone and then go forward. And load, give yourself load, touch the cone, go forward. And that's what they do off the mound. I mean, I got a million things. I mean, we have to invent all kinds of stuff. You saw Marty's hitting drill, focused drills, where they can correct themselves on their own. I've tried the wrong way for many, many years. I've stood next to the pitcher during bullpens and told him, you should do this, do that, do this. It doesn't work as well as when I leave them by themselves, create a drill for them, and let them take a bucket of balls and throw it against the screen. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it's short, depends on the athlete. But that will correct most problems. Most problems. Not 100%, because there's no absolutes in this game. But most problems will be corrected.
And they're able to take it right into the game because they don't have to think about it. They're looking pretty good in the throwing program. It might look okay in the bullpen, and they go to the game and everything falls apart. Because now my brain needs to be focused on somewhere else. I can't control my body anymore with my brain, and it didn't. And I didn't practice and figuring it out on my own. There's principles always in these things, mechanical principles, but in the end, you have to be yourself, and you have to allow the player to become himself by understanding the principle, but the rest he kind of needs to figure out on his own. And we try to help him build an environment around him so he can figure it out a little bit quicker because the feedback system is enhanced.
Another drill for the front side that we have in the tool shed. Tool shed is we get one of those elastic tubing about that long that we use. You know, the strength and conditioning guys use for warming up. We'll tie it to his belt, his right-handed thrower, and then tie it to his belt here, and then actually have it tied around his glove or glove hand, and then put his glove on. So when it's taut enough, he's not going to be able to do this. He's going to feel that pull right away. And all he's got to do is throw with that thing. Okay, they don't like to throw with it. You know, I'm telling you right now, they like to just get out there and freaking wing it. You know, but if we're pitching coaches or we're throwing coaches, and we have to try to develop pitchers and throwers, then we have to create the proper mechanics to be able to allow those guys to reach their maximum potential. That's all about maximum potential for me, and it's about also eliminating injuries. You know, you guys know I've been in the Italian Academy for 14 years, and I've never had an arm injury, okay, ever. And that's because of the prehab that we put in place beforehand that allows me to work these kids a lot. We throw every day, and we prepare them to throw, basically. So, any questions? Yeah.
Number of throws,
Number of throws for what?
each drill.
Oh, these drills, okay, the first drill, why don't we go through the distances of the throws? You run them out, run through them again. Okay, we do the first one with the feet wide, okay, and just the arm swings. We do that distance about maybe 10 meters, okay? And we usually do between 10 and 12 throws per. We're not going to exaggerate it to the point where we're throwing 50 throws, but we're going to do between 10 and 12, 10 and 15. It depends, because if you get a long row of kids that are throwing, all the pitchers and the staff are throwing, there's going to be some guys that throw 10. Some guys are up to 15, so a minimum of 10, okay, for each drill. Now, the second drill, we'll spread them out another 5 meters, and the number of throws are the same. All right, remember, this is not a high intensity exercise. This is a low intensity exercise, and we're trying to create good arm action. Of course, we know that in low intensity exercises do not always correlate or transfer over to the game, but I'm going to try to walk before I run. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to just basically set up our plan so we can do this every single day during the season that we're on the field, and we create some good habits here. That's all it is. Creating good habits and trying to destroy bad ones. This a little bit further, I'd say like 20, 25 meters. Okay.
Maybe all the way up to base.
Maybe even 30, okay, 30 yards. Same thing, they got to maintain their posture, maintain their the arm swing, everything has to be the same. We have to make sure our timing's right. And we're going to do between 10 and 15 on that too. All right, next one. Step behinds. Now, this is where we can start stretching it out. We can start stretching it out and almost even go into a long toss program. So we can start stretching out to 40 meters even right now. We're good. If we don't feel good at 40, we can back off to 30. You know, you guys got to make your own decisions as to what they're capable of doing. But the throws are more or less the same. They're going to be 10, 15. And, you know, you might want to do this. You might say, okay, this kid right here, Johnny's got problems with finishing his leg. So I'm gonna have him do 20. Johnny, I want you to do 20 exercises, 20 times, 20 balls in this exercise for this week. Okay? You're gonna have to adjust that as you go. Because you guys are gonna be the guys that are gonna have to identify the flaws in each individual pitcher. And if you can do that, then you can freaking coach it. If you don't, you can't coach it, okay? We got the step behinds, then we got the small tee, so then we're gonna move in a little bit, and this is gonna be another probably 10 or 15 meters. 15 meters, okay? We're always working high to low, that's important, working high to low. You can see this guy's got a really good arm slide, he's really nice and high, I like that, okay? And he's finishing really nice on his left leg. He's not coming too side to side. But there's all these control points that I'm telling you guys that are important to watch for. Okay, if this kid's starting to come around like this and he's here every single time, we don't want that. Okay, we want to make sure that we can decelerate with the backside, okay, properly. When we finish, we're going to finish right here. Okay, if we start finishing side to side, we're defeating our purpose. Okay.
In the end, the most important is that you give educate your players on the responsibility to manage their arms. There's not a program in the world do this many throws for that distance. Pro ball tried this for a while, and these measurements were coming from rehab programs. And that's why we had an era where we had the most undertrained arms in professional baseball. And you have to learn how to manage your arm yourself, because you're the only guy who can determine how much you need to do. And with little experience, you know how much you need to do so you feel better the next day. But that responsibility, there's not a program, not a system in the world that could control this. I mean, the technique freaks and some pro organization, they're starting to put probes on everybody so they can measure it and know exactly the volume they did and the intensity, and there's acceleration devices and all kinds of crazy stuff, but in the end, and you're never going to have access to this anyway. So the most important thing you need to teach them in the program is to manage your arm yourself. And then you do 5 throws instead of 10 throws, where you go a little further out or not.
Might be the day after he pitched, you want to keep his intensity level down. I mean, you're going to have to adjust that as the week goes forward too. We know we play on the weekends here, so you got a 5-day week in between, right? They play on Sunday, they play on Saturday, 6 days. So you're going to have to make that decision yourself. There's not a set number, but I would suggest if you have problems, that would be the minimum number. Okay, now what we've explained today is this is the throwing program that we're incorporating in all the cadet camps in Europe that we did this year. We did 7 of them, okay? And we have instituted this throwing program as Major League Baseball in all of these camps. We're hoping that around Europe, this will become common practice within all the countries. So this is a Major League Baseball initiative to start a throwing program. To be honest with you, I didn't have a throwing program until about 5 years ago. Really, seriously. I mean, you know, the guys who go out there and they throw. Sure, we had the 2-knee one and then this bullshit, you know, all that other stuff. But we never really had anything that was directly correcting the flaws and mistakes that we saw in our pitchers or our throwers. Because a thrower on defense is important as a pitcher. He can have an arm injury just like a pitcher can. We don't want anybody on the DL. Okay? So that's not it. Any other questions? Thanks for your time, guys. Yes?
Just one thing. Congrats to this program, and I hope in Europe many coaches will adopt it. And we need that. We need that in our academies, because there are so many discrepancies between what they are learning in their ball clubs and what they get in special academies to prepare them for further steps. And I'm happy that I didn't see in your program another towel drill, because what we did experience is, okay, everybody, darling, Tom House, it's okay. But what we did learn is that we don't have enough throwing programs like yours, where the kids are progressing and just experience the natural concept of the pronation. And that's what I know from you, Bill. Since years, you're a guy who really knows and cares about the natural pronation in throwing, and that's what we miss. We did learn that a lot of kids coming back to our academy, and they lack of real pronation, and even then going into the concept of supination. Why? And we asked them, we said, oh yeah, we are using the towel so many times, and yeah, it's a great program, but we know the towel drill, if not executed the right way, it destroys so many natural parts in the kinematic chain. That's why we are using the biomechanical principle in throwing. So my question is, did you emphasize or did you consider before this program, especially those kind of elements, to take them away and just go with your experienced way if you're
I'll speak for myself here, and I'm the culprit. I'm the guy that brought it in here like 15 years ago, and everybody's starting to get closer to what I'm doing, and me getting further away from them. But the bottom line is like you said, you can't control the towel drill. I don't do the towel drill at all, because what I do is I shorten my pitchers up, and we do short boxes, and I lower the intensity. I don't think that the towel drill is a valuable tool, because I think that a player can do it poorly, especially a young player, so easily, and you can defeat the purpose of I'm trying to teach. So I'll have the guy throw lower intensity off the mound and work on what he's trying to work on. We throw every single day in our academy. Every single day they throw at least 40, 50, 60 balls. Low intensity, but they throw. Okay.
Good job, guys.